Tonight on KGW News, a man shaken by the Texas school massacre gives up his guns.
Guns are not as precious to us as the lives of my children in school.
How he hopes to convince others to follow his lead. Also tonight, a man arrested for attacking animals.
I mean, to take an innocent animal and torture them, it's just sickening.
Why police are asking other pet owners to come forward. And later, this Memorial Day, remembering our veterans.
They fought for our country so we can have freedom.
As local scouts pay tribute. Your news starts now. And we begin tonight as we have the last 2 evenings with families across this country in mourning, and with new insight into how a gunman was able to get into a Texas school and murder 21 people. Now, authorities say the 18-year-old walked into Robb Elementary through an unlocked door and was in the building for an hour before law enforcement killed him. Also tonight, conflicting details on whether the school had an armed officer on site at the time of the shootings. Now, on Wednesday, public safety officials said, yes, a school resource officer approached the shooter and engaged with him before the shooter followed him inside the building. But today, the department clarified.
So at this time?
No. There was not an officer readily available, armed. No.
All right, we're also learning more about the timeline, one that raises troubling questions. Investigators say the shooter killed his grandmother in her home, then crashed his truck near the school. These are things we knew, but now we know 12 minutes elapsed between the crash and when he entered the building. Now, authorities say responding officers followed. They were driven back by gunfire. The shooter barricading himself in a classroom again for about an hour until he was killed by Border Patrol officers. And tonight we're hearing from the parents of one of the students killed, Uvalde Sheriff Deputy Felix Rubio, who was off duty at the time. He and his wife had just seen their 10-year-old daughter Lexi at a school ceremony half an hour earlier.
Do you know what it's like to be there and that I didn't take her home? I made this huge mistake and you can never fix it.
I mean, you could just feel their grief and their loss there today. More heartbreak when we learned the husband of Irma Garcia, she is one of the 2 teachers who was killed, also died. Her family says Joe Garcia had just returned home from dropping off flowers at a memorial when he collapsed and could not be revived. Joe and Irma were high school sweethearts, married for 24 years, and they will be remembered, as will all 21 there. Okay, here in Oregon, a Hillsboro man did something with his guns after Texas that is getting national attention on social media. He turned them in to be destroyed, and as Catherine Cook reports, he did it in a way and with words that might convince others to follow.
I was up all night, tossing and turning, crying, shaking.
When Ben Beers woke up Wednesday morning, he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he documented it on TikTok.
Today I'm turning in my weapons to the Hillsboro Police Department in Oregon, both my AR-15 and my 9mm handgun. I no longer want them.
In just one day, people had watched the video nearly 200,000 times.
Which is a good thing. Hopefully soon we can all wake up and we can realize this needs to be done. This is an idea. Guns are not as precious to us, and nor are my Second Amendment rights, as the lives of my children in school.
Ben and his wife have 2 daughters. By the time they're grown, he hopes access to guns in America will look different.
I can't even find a PlayStation 5, but I can go get a Glock, you know?
And he hopes the money driving the gun industry will have lost its pull.
Yeah, I'm aware that I could have made thousands of dollars off this stuff. But that's the problem, is it's already becoming, it's too much of an economical impact in this country. It's already a big money maker. That's, I think, the root of the problem.
Ben says he's owned and sold other guns in the past, but this week changed everything.
I just want to turn them in and have them destroyed.
His goal was that firearm or those firearms never ended up on the street and in the wrong hands and were used to commit a crime.
Hillsboro Police Sergeant Clint Schurz says his department contracts with a company that destroys the guns while an officer watches. He says they don't offer incentives for turning in firearms, be it money or vouchers, just a property receipt.
It could be a death in the family where somebody has a firearm that was left to them that they don't want around the house for whatever reason, and they decided to turn it into us. So it happens about once a month.
Ben hopes it will happen a lot more often now.
And hopefully America can wake up, because no other country has the problems that we do with gun culture and ideation and gun violence like we do.
And most, if not all, law enforcement agencies will accept guns and ammunition from people who want to turn them in to be destroyed. But it's probably a good idea to call and check with your local police department first before showing up with firearms. David.
Thank you, Catherine. Catherine Cook reporting. And right now, local efforts are underway to get stricter gun safety measures on the ballot in November. A group called Lift Every Voice Oregon has gotten approximately 30,000 signatures, but they need about 112,000 by the July 8th deadline. The group wants permits and thorough background checks for all gun purchases. They also want to ban large capacity magazines.
We do not have to endure this. We do not have to treat this as normal. We do not have to treat this as something we can't affect. We can make a difference. We will make a difference. We are going to change the narrative right now because we are angry.
And that group also pushing another measure that would ban the future sale of assault-style firearms. But instead of getting that on a ballot, the hope is that lawmakers will take action. Well, in tonight's other headlines, there was a gun scare today at a Vancouver high school. Staff at Heritage High say a student brought an unloaded gun with them to class. The firearm was confiscated. Nobody was hurt. Now, multiple investigations are underway. The student told the Clark County Sheriff's Office he had no intention of hurting himself or anyone else. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office is looking for potential victims of a man they say impersonated a law enforcement officer. Now, deputies say 31-year-old Christopher Denton had been driving a decommissioned police vehicle and using it to pass himself off as an officer. Deputies are asking any potential victims to contact the sheriff's office. Denton's being held right now on federal gun and drug-related charges. The family of Kevin Peterson Jr. is suing the Clark County Sheriff's Office. Peterson, who is black, was shot and killed by deputies back in October 2020 during a failed drug sting. Investigators later determined the deputies did not break any criminal laws in that shooting. The family says they want more training for law enforcement and for the deputies who killed Peterson to be held accountable. The Clark County Sheriff's Office had no comment. Well, new at 11, a Salem man is behind bars tonight after he was arrested on multiple animal abuse charges. Investigators say the man killed a pigeon, a crow, and then a cat. Police wanting to get the word out, concerned there could be more. Let's bring in Alma McCarty. And Alma, you talked to one couple who filed a report about their pet after hearing this difficult news.
Yeah, David, a warning to viewers. The details of this story are pretty horrific, and the pictures that I saw this afternoon so disturbing we can't show them on television.
He was just amazing.
At 7 years old and 18 pounds, Willow was more than just a cat to David Johnson and Michelle Wilson.
He was kind of like a security blanket to me and my support cat. We've lost a few close family members this last couple months.
They first got word on May 11th that their pet was found dead by a jogger in a nearby field next to an elementary school.
So we figured maybe coyotes got him. So we kind of drew that conclusion for about a week.
But something still seemed off.
I kept going through my mind is, what would do this? What could have done this?
Then the couple heard about a news article about a suspect named Micah Smith. He was charged last week with aggravated animal abuse after officers found 3 different animals decapitated and disemboweled.
He needs to have consequences beyond just getting help for him.
The word murder was found backwards in graffiti near 2 of the animals, a pigeon and a crow. Investigators also found another cat.
After hearing what had been done to these other animals, it sounded very similar to what had happened to our cat and the position in which our cat was found.
Michelle says they filed a police report. Investigators telling them their cat's injuries fit the pattern.
I guess the words he used, there was too many similarities, he said.
Salem police confirmed the report of a mutilated cat, but said they couldn't comment further since it's an active investigation.
Michelle and David tell me, despite the gruesome and upsetting nature of this story, they wanted to get the word out so others who may have had similar incidents will reach out to police.
When you see it, it's hard to understand. It's hard to comprehend. And it's still hard to imagine somebody doing something like that.
This has hurt people. To take an innocent animal and torture them, it's just sickening.
And Salem police told me this afternoon again that pet owners who have had similar incidents to these should file a police report if they haven't already. As far as the suspect, he's facing so far 6 counts of animal abuse and is due back in court in a week. David?
Thank you, Alma. A lot of difficult stories tonight.